Hello, I'm Annie Bergeron-Oliver. I'm here at the Manning Network Conference in Ottawa, where people from all across Canada are joining to talk about conservatism. But we'll get to that a little bit later. First, let's see what's new on Parliament Hill this week. It's been a busy week for the Red Chamber. Conservative Senator Pierre Hughes Boisvenu reimbursed the Senate Thursday for $907 in what he called a mistakenly claimed housing allowance. That same day, Boisvenu's ex-girlfriend and executive assistant was transferred from his office. This news came just 24 hours after a non-binding NDP motion to abolish the Senate was struck down in the House by 186 to 101. The motion would have kick-started negotiations with the provinces to eliminate the Senate. And earlier this week, opposition leader Thomas Mulcair told reporters that he'd never appoint senators.
Will you appoint senators?
Absolutely not.
And Minister Flaherty held a pre-budget meeting Friday with several private sector employees to discuss Canada's economic prospects.
We got to do a better job of connecting the skills that people have and the education that people have with the jobs that are available in Canada.
Flaherty said the government intends to balance the books by 2015, despite a projected GDP growth of only 1.7% this year. The minister assured reporters that across-the-board income tax increases are not being considered, but that they are looking at closing tax loopholes to help decrease the deficit. The federal budget is expected to come out in late March. We're here now with Colin Horgan at the Manning Network Conference. So, Colin, you were here for the keynote speaker this morning for Ron Paul. What did you think?
It was an interesting speech in that it's not the kind of thing you'd normally hear at a Canadian political convention. But it was very similar to the kind of stuff we're used to hearing from Ron Paul during his campaign for the presidency in 2012. But as one reporter pointed out afterward that was notable was when he was talking about these things like getting rid of the central banking system and getting rid of social safety nets and healthcare and stuff like that. The room applauded at every one of these things, and they gave him a standing ovation at the end. So the question was whether that means that everyone here endorses these ideas, and wouldn't that be strange given what kind of country we're in, and given the kind of party the Conservatives are, a fairly centrist, right-of-center kind of party. And obviously, not everything that the speakers say here is, obviously endorsed by everyone here, but it was an interesting phenomenon. It brought up the idea that there may be more libertarians in the crowd than possibly we would have thought.
Right. So this morning there was actually a panel talking about the different factions of conservatism, which I didn't realize there was many now in Canada as there used to be, or that there are. They were saying that there are labels now like the red Tory, the blue Tory, the social conservative, and the libertarian. So is this something that, Harper should be worried about going into the next election, and should people be labeling themselves as a red Tory versus a blue?
Probably not anymore as much as they used to. I mean, I think that's sort of what the Conservative Party's eliminated in a big way. And I think that was part of what people were saying this morning, that the distinction between red Tories and blue Tories and libertarians and far right wing, there's a lot of common ground in this country that I think was very clear this morning, that even while they had a display up saying this is going to be a discussion between a blue Tory and a red Tory, Preston Manning even said himself, maybe this distinction isn't even accurate anymore, because there isn't really that much of a difference in those little factions. So I think that's probably part of what you've seen the Conservative Party do. It's a Big Ten kind of party. It's brought together a lot of these different areas or different thinkings on conservatism. So in this country anyway, it's probably less relevant now than it was, say, 10 or 15 years ago.
Well, great. Thanks so much. So that's Colin Horgan, and we'll see everyone next week.